The legend of Atlantis and the historical mystery surrounding the Knights Templar represent two of the most enduring enigmas that have captivated human imagination across centuries. While Atlantis exists purely in the realm of myth and philosophical allegory, and the Knights Templar were a documented medieval military order, various writers and theorists have attempted to weave these two narratives together into a tale of hidden knowledge and lost civilizations. This connection, though lacking credible historical evidence, has flourished in popular culture and alternative history circles, creating a fascinating case study in how human beings construct meaning from fragments of the past. The allure of connecting these two topics comes from the fact that they both have an air of mystery about them, and the exciting idea that ancient knowledge may have been kept and passed down through secret channels over thousands of years. The story of Atlantis originates with the Greek philosopher Plato, who described it in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 360 BC as a powerful island nation that existed 9,000 years before his time. According to Plato's account, Atlantis was a technologically advanced civilization, blessed with abundant natural resources, sophisticated architecture, and a powerful military force that had conquered much of the Mediterranean world before being defeated by ancient Athens. The island was said to have sunk into the ocean in a single day and night of catastrophic destruction, punishment from the gods for the Atlanteans' hubris and moral corruption. Most classical scholars have long interpreted Plato's Atlantis as a philosophical device rather than a historical account, a cautionary tale meant to illustrate his ideas about ideal government and the dangers of imperial ambition. Nevertheless, the story has inspired countless attempts to locate the lost civilization, with proposed locations ranging from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, from Antarctica to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Throughout ancient and medieval history, the concept of Atlantis evolved beyond Plato's original narrative to become a symbol of lost golden ages and vanished wisdom. Ancient writers occasionally referenced Atlantis, though many treated it as allegory rather than literal history, recognizing Plato's philosophical purposes in creating the tale. During the medieval period, when much of classical learning was preserved primarily in monastic libraries and Islamic centers of scholarship, knowledge of Atlantis persisted but remained largely confined to educated circles familiar with Plato's works. The Renaissance brought renewed interest in classical texts and sparked fresh speculation about whether Atlantis might have been a real place, with some scholars attempting to reconcile it with biblical accounts of the flood or with newly discovered lands in the Americas. Medieval cosmology and geography, limited by the knowledge available at the time, created a world where undiscovered lands and lost civilizations seemed entirely plausible, establishing a cultural mindset that would later prove receptive to theories connecting ancient mysteries with medieval institutions. The Knights Templar emerged from very different historical circumstances, founded in 1119 AD as a Catholic military order dedicated to protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades. The order began modestly, with just 9 founding knights who established their headquarters on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, the site believed to have housed Solomon's temple in ancient times. Over the subsequent 2 centuries, the Templars grew into one of the most powerful organizations in medieval Europe, amassing enormous wealth through donations, developing an early form of international banking, and commanding respect as fierce warriors who followed a strict monastic rule. Their distinctive white mantles emblazoned with red crosses became symbols of Christian military might, and their fortified commanderies and preceptories dotted the landscape from England to the Holy Land. The order's rapid accumulation of wealth, their access to secret locations in Jerusalem, and their reputation for mysticism made them objects of both admiration and suspicion among their contemporaries. The dramatic fall of the Knights Templar in the early 14th century created the foundation for centuries of speculation and legend that would eventually link them to Atlantis in popular imagination. On Friday, October 13, 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered the mass arrest of Templars throughout his kingdom, accusing them of heresy, idol worship, and various other crimes in what was largely a politically motivated campaign to seize their wealth and eliminate their power. Under torture, some Templars confessed to the charges, though the reliability of such confessions is highly questionable by modern standards of justice. Pope Clement V eventually dissolved the order in 1312, and the last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was executed at the stake in Paris in 1314, reportedly cursing both the king and the Pope as he passed away. The sudden and violent suppression of such a powerful organization, combined with legends of Templar treasure that was never found, and rumors of knights who escaped to unknown destinations, created a void that speculation and myth rushed to fill over the following centuries. The folklore connecting the Knights Templar to Atlantis emerged primarily in the 19th and 20th centuries, drawing on the mysterious aura surrounding both subjects and weaving them together in increasingly elaborate theories. Some writers propose that the Templars, during their time excavating beneath the Temple Mount, discovered ancient documents or artifacts that contained knowledge from Atlantis, preserved somehow through the millennia. According to these theories, the legendary lost civilization had possessed advanced scientific and spiritual knowledge that was encoded in texts or objects hidden in Jerusalem, perhaps brought there by survivors of Atlantis who had influenced ancient Middle Eastern civilizations. The Templars, having unearthed these secrets, supposedly used this ancient wisdom to accumulate their wealth and power while guarding it jealously from the uninitiated. Other variations suggest that the Templars discovered maps to Atlantis or learned that survivors of the lost civilization had established colonies in the New World, explaining alleged pre-Columbian European voyages to America and the mysterious disappearance of Templar treasure after their suppression. These theories often incorporate elements of other historical mysteries and alternative archaeology, creating complex narratives that span thousands of years and multiple continents. Proponents point to the apparent sophistication of certain ancient monuments and technologies as evidence of Atlantean influence, suggesting that knowledge from the lost civilization was preserved by mystery schools, secret societies, and esoteric traditions that eventually reached the medieval Templars. The order's known interest in sacred geometry, their architectural achievements in building Gothic cathedrals, and their financial innovations are sometimes reinterpreted as applications of ancient Atlantean knowledge rather than medieval developments. Some writers have even suggested that the Templars fled to Scotland or the Americas after their suppression, carrying Atlantean artifacts or knowledge with them and establishing secret lineages that persist to the present day. These narratives often blend historical facts about the Templars with speculative interpretations of ancient texts, archaeological anomalies, and symbolic analysis of Templar imagery and architecture. Serious historians and archaeologists have consistently rejected the theories connecting Atlantis and the Knights Templar as lacking any credible evidentiary foundation. The scholarly consensus maintains that Plato's Atlantis was a literary creation with philosophical purposes rather than a description of an actual historical civilization, making any claims about the transmission of Atlantean knowledge inherently problematic. Careful examination of Templar documents, buildings, and historical records reveals nothing that requires explanation through recourse to ancient lost civilizations, as their practices and knowledge can be adequately understood within the context of medieval European culture, technology, and religious traditions. The archaeological excavations of the Temple Mount and other Templar sites have yielded no artifacts or texts suggesting any connection to prehistoric advanced civilizations, and the order's financial success can be explained through conventional historical analysis of medieval banking, papal privileges, and donations from pious nobles. Critics also note that many of the specific claims linking Templars to Atlantis emerged long after both the order's dissolution and the relevant historical periods, often in contexts where authors had commercial or ideological motivations to promote sensational theories. The skeptical perspective emphasizes that the apparent mysteries surrounding the Templars can be explained by the fragmentary nature of medieval historical records and the tendency of human beings to fill gaps in knowledge with speculation rather than acknowledging uncertainty. The tortures inflicted during the Templar trials produced unreliable testimony, and much of the order's documentation was destroyed or lost over the centuries, creating ample space for imaginative reconstruction of their activities. Similarly, the enduring fascination with Atlantis reflects deeper human psychological needs for golden ages and lost wisdom, rather than any genuine historical evidence for its existence. Researchers in various fields have demonstrated how cognitive biases, pattern-seeking tendencies, and motivated reasoning can lead people to perceive connections between unrelated phenomena, especially when dealing with subjects that carry emotional or spiritual significance. The academic community has repeatedly shown that careful application of historical methodology, archaeological evidence, and critical analysis consistently fails to support the existence of Atlantis as a historical place or any Templar connection to it. Despite this scholarly skepticism, the theories linking Atlantis and the Knights Templar have had a significant cultural impact, influencing literature, film, and popular perceptions of history. Numerous novels have featured Templar knights as guardians of Atlantean secrets, or as inheritors of ancient wisdom stretching back to the lost civilization, while documentary television programs continue to explore these themes despite their lack of academic credibility. This phenomenon reflects a broader public fascination with alternative history and the appeal of narratives that position secret societies as custodians of hidden knowledge that challenges mainstream historical accounts. The theories have also influenced certain esoteric and New Age spiritual movements that incorporate both Atlantis and the Templars into their cosmologies and practices. While professional historians may dismiss these connections as pseudo-history, they nonetheless reveal important truths about how people construct meaning, identity, and spiritual narratives by drawing on historical symbols and mythological archetypes. The persistence of these theories also highlights tensions between academic historical scholarship and popular historical consciousness, raising questions about who has authority to interpret the past and for what purposes. Academics emphasize empirical evidence, peer review, and methodological rigor in constructing historical knowledge, while alternative historians and their audiences often privilege intuition, symbolic interpretation, and skepticism toward institutional authorities. The democratization of information through the internet has amplified these debates, allowing theories about Templar Atlantis connections to reach vast audiences while also making scholarly rebuttals more accessible. This dynamic has created a complex information ecosystem where historical claims circulate with varying degrees of evidentiary support, and distinguishing reliable from unreliable narratives requires critical thinking skills that not all audiences possess. The cultural impact extends beyond mere entertainment, as these alternative historical narratives can shape how people understand power, knowledge, and the relationship between past and present. The legend connecting Atlantis and the Knights Templar ultimately tells us more about our own time and culture than about any genuine historical relationship between a mythical civilization and a medieval military order. The absence of credible evidence linking these two subjects has not diminished their power in popular imagination, precisely because the appeal of such connections operates on psychological and cultural levels rather than historical ones. People are drawn to stories of hidden knowledge and lost wisdom because such narratives offer hope that human existence has deeper meaning than the mundane details of daily life might suggest, and that transformative secrets await discovery by those brave or clever enough to locate them. The Templars and Atlantis serve as powerful symbols onto which contemporary concerns, aspirations, and anxieties can be projected, allowing each generation to reconstruct these mysteries in ways that speak to their own historical moment. Whether understood as harmless entertainment, dangerous pseudo-history, or meaningful mythology, the theories connecting these subjects demonstrate the enduring human need to find patterns in the past and to believe that ancient wisdom might yet illuminate the present.